Hey everyone, it's me, Moonbuster Green, and today I guess I'm dropping a quick review for The Witness, a PlayStation 5 game that I logistically did not buy, and that for some reason I forced myself to beat. I got this game either for free because it came with PS Plus, or maybe it was part of that COVID PlayStation related rebate that happened last year. Anyway, I don't know why I played this game. I'm honestly trying to figure out right now why I bothered with it. Alright, there's a few things I can say. One of the reasons I might have played this game, besides the fact I got it for free, is that the game's relatively interesting presentation reminded me of the game Myst. If you guys don't remember or have never heard of the game Myst, it was a game in the mid 90s and it was billed as the world's first person puzzle game, or rather the world's first person game that was about mindlessly shooting like zombies. And when I bought my first computer as a kid, what did it come with? It came with Myst, of course. The only game worthy enough for a mid-90s computer. But the thing of it is, if you ever actually played Myst, Myst fucking sucked. You'll wander around this vaguely artistic Euro-Canadian island just trying to solve fucking math problems, and the biggest enemy in Myst is your own fucking boredom because the game is so goddamn dull. I always wanted to beat Myst, but the fact of the matter is that Myst is not a fun game to play. Not in any way, shape, or form. So, that brings us back to The Witness. Now, The Witness is a lot more fun than Myst, but I'm not sure how much more fun than Myst. It delivers the same sort of experience of being stranded on a mysterious Euro-Canadian style island, and even though the game is a little bit more fun and the puzzles make a little bit more sense, it's still got this weird kind of sense of that the person who made this game is fucking with you. The other reason I played this game is I guess I was suffering from some burnout fatigue after just being the extremely overstimulating No More Heroes 3, and I wanted to cleanse my brain afterwards with a chill walk through a beautiful forest. So for those reasons I started playing The Witness, but now that I've beaten it, I'm still not sure if it was a good thing I played it or not. Now, I'm going to pretty much walk you guys through my experience of playing this game, and this will serve as both a review and a shortened down Let's Play, as well as a bare bones player's guide because this game is so fucking confusing. Each zone in the game has vastly different levels of fun, and since I'm trying to figure out if this game is fun or not, just to make it interesting, I'm going to give each level or zone its own fun score. So come along with me as we re-explore The Witness and I try to figure out if it was fun or not. So The Witness starts off with you crawling out of a bomb shelter. You learn absolutely nothing about the player character you're playing as, but if you look at his shadow, you can get a general impression that he's a white male, turn-of-the-century gentleman, probably a dude sort of like this, I guess. Also, all over this island, there are these creepy Roman-style statues that seem to depict colonial people in various positions of stress or eroticism, or maybe they're dying, I can't tell. Maybe Medusa came through this island and killed everyone before I arrived. I don't know. This game never gives you any fucking answers. So I just gotta make up the shit that's going on and try to figure it out myself. Anyway, so the core mechanic of The Witness is fucking smartphone unlocking puzzles. I shit you not, that's all you do in this game. If you ever wanted to secure your smartphone better, I think any one of these puzzles in this game would definitely protect your phone a lot better than any 4-digit number ever would. Alright, so now I'll begin going over the various zones on the island and how fun I thought they were. So, the first thing you do when you start the game is you end up in this garden after you crawl out of the bomb shelter where you solve these easy peasy connect the dot puzzles. These puzzles require absolutely no skill or explanation, and also the game is really bad at explaining itself, so get used to that. The tutorial baby zone gets a fun score of 7. After escaping from the tutorial baby zone, you find yourself on this ultra chill island filled with these extremely complicated puzzles, none of which are properly explained. So to figure out these puzzles, you either have to trial and error it, like I did most of the time, or you cheat and check out a YouTube video that tells you what to do. Hell, you could even watch this YouTube video, because I'm going to tell you what to do. Anyway, so even though this is supposed to be a review of the game, I will include light explanations of each puzzle type, because that shit drove me insane. So the first group of puzzles you come across as you're walking around the island is this beautiful grove of cherry blossom trees, and each tree has this meticulously designed control panel. In this puzzle, your goal is to hit the branch that corresponds to the magic apple, sitting in the real tree in the real world. However, as you go along the path, this becomes more and more difficult because the trees get more complicated, the apple starts to get smaller, the apple eventually gets hidden, and it's just more and more tedious and hard as you keep walking down the path. And if I remember correctly, the reward for finishing this group of puzzles was absolutely nothing. Cherry Blossom Grove, fun score, 4. Yeah, this game is really annoying. Even though this game has probably around, I would guess, 450 puzzles. That's off the top of my head, I might be wrong. I would say only 400 of those puzzles count towards the game completion, and the other 150 are just there to annoy you, especially if you're a completionist or any kind of person who likes completing everything in a video game. Alright, so anyway, that brings us to level 1. This is the first level in the game, the first place you're going to stumble into. The game is technically an overworld game, but really the levels are vaguely arranged in this kind of natural progression order, where unless you already know how to beat the puzzles, or you're some kind of super phone unlocking puzzle genius, you're gonna beat the stages in relatively a kind of straightforward order. So the first level is one of the easiest. It's a vague waterfront area, and the puzzles here all have the theme of symmetry. The symmetry puzzles are all easy peasy, they're just connect the dots with symmetry. None of these puzzles gave me any worries at all, although they do become more complex and distorted as you progress along. There is a second section here that introduces connect the dot puzzles. These puzzles are also fun and easy, you just need to connect the dots and hit the goal. They make this harder at the end by combining the symmetry puzzles with the connect the dot puzzles, and also adding two-tone symmetry puzzles where each line has its own dot and its own goal, but so far it's still easy and fun. There are some more dot puzzles, but eventually you activate the big laser and you clear the first world. So when you clear the first world, a big laser beam shoots out of a thingy and it shoots up to the mountain, and that's something. Level 1 is cleared, fun score 10 out of 10. That was honestly one of the funnest parts of the game. It only gets worse from here. So on to the next zone. The next zone is literally right next to the first zone, and I should mention that the Witness has a pretty small overworld map that makes it feel like you're basically visiting a shitty amusement park, or maybe a more complicated than usual national park, something like that. It's just a park with trees and shit, no rides. God, what's the point of going to a park with no rides? Anyway. So the second zone is like this fossil ruin dig out kind of place. It's next to a nice beach, but you never go to the beach. Anyway, so Zone 2 introduces the other major gimmick of the game. So the puzzles are not just sliding line puzzles, they're also puzzles based on perspective, where you have to jiggle the camera around and see something different to solve the puzzles. So Zone 2 was our first big perspective problem. In Zone 2, the perspective problem is pretty ingenious at first. The puzzles don't seem to make any sense, but if you perfectly align your player, your camera, your line of sight, the puzzle, and the sun, because conveniently the sun in this game is just parked over Zone 2 for the whole game. Anyway, if you manage to expertly align all your cameras, all your eyeballs, your real eyeballs, your fake eyeballs, the in-game sun, the in-game puzzle, you will eventually see that the puzzle in this area is dirty in the area that you have to touch on the screen to solve the puzzle. Essentially, the second area is dirty cell phone unlocking puzzles, which does remind me that even if you lock your cell phone with a fancy puzzle, it's not going to be effective if you have greasy, dirty fingers. Anyway, so the puzzles continue. You have to move around shit to line up your eyes and see where the glint is. You have to run around this area, squinting really hard, and eventually you'll get inside the tomb. Now, inside the tomb, it's more of the same, but now instead of using the sun to see the reflections, you have to use the water. And that makes things a lot more frustrating because that means you have to constantly adjust the water level like the most annoying fucking part of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Not the part of the game you want to steal, assholes. So, yeah, eventually you'll get through Zone 2 and unlock another laser. Zone 2, the desert and the tomb, fun score 6. Now, after that, you might notice a town is in the middle of the island. The town is annoying as hell and is basically the second to last level in the game, so just pass through the town and ignore it till later. The puzzles here are literally among the hardest in the game, and you don't want to spend your time here. The Maze Garden was, I think, one of the third areas I came to in the game, and the Maze Garden is a pretty nice looking area. Unfortunately, the gimmicks here are really, really bad. There's only one way to get through the maze, but to unlock the door at the end of each room, which is actually at the start of each room, you have to write the solution to the maze, backtrack, and put the solution of the maze into the door. Now, what's weird here is because the puzzles are simple but intensely hard. I really want to say this was one of the cooler parts of the game, but because the puzzles were so hard, this was one of the first areas that really pissed me off and actually was not fun even though it looked cool. Maze. Fun score 3. After that's the swamp. So the swamp was the 5th area I hit up on my playthrough. I grew up in New Jersey, so I have a lot of fond childhood memories of playing in the swamp. Despite that though, the swamp is covered in this disturbing paint/toxic waste. This really bothered me because they never explain what it is, so I'm not sure how offended I should be by it. Anyway, the puzzles here are in a completely different format. They're basically Tetris the board game, where it'll tell you like a shape and you need to cut it out of the board. If you never played Tetris the board game, it's like Tetris the video game, except you have to fill in shapes to complete the board, and that's what you do here. Anyway, I got extremely stuck in this area because the last puzzle in the area was actually not a puzzle at all, but a control system for the gate that unlocks the door so you can leave the area. And this just plain stumped me for the longest goddamn time. It took me 2 days to figure out that it wasn't a puzzle, it was a gate controller, and that drove me nuts. Swamp. Fun score 4. After that, I had to take a boat to reach the next area, which was the treehouse. By the way, the boat, hilarious that you control the boat with the fucking slide mechanic. Anyway, yeah, so the treehouse, actually one of the most max fun areas in the game. So you solve a bunch of relatively easy puzzles here involving just separating out pairs of dots, but the twist is though, solving the puzzles isn't actually how you clear the level. Solving the puzzles builds a bridge, and the bridge is how you clear the level. Because what happens is if you solve the puzzles in the wrong way, the bridge won't connect to the treehouse, which is really fucking clever. I'm not sure why, but this was one of my favorite parts of the game. Treehouse. Fun score 9. By the way, there was also this super cool shipwreck area. As far as I can tell, this area has no point in existing other than just being cool and creepy. So that's a massive loss of good area design, but I really like shipwrecks, don't you? Anyway, no puzzles here, but you know what? I'm still going to give the shipwreck area a fun score of 2. Okay, now let's talk about the Sawmill. The Sawmill basically has these really dumb ramp puzzles where you need to draw a ramp on a puzzle, and then when you draw the ramp on the puzzle, a ramp appears in real life that you can use to walk up the Sawmill. So the Sawmill has 2 big areas. There's the actual Sawmill, and there's also this factory next to the Sawmill. They both have similar-ish puzzles, but inside of the factory there are more color matching puzzles, with the extra gimmick that they have this 3-star asterisk block that lets you solve a puzzle while making one mistake. This sounds cool, but it means that actually you have to make one mistake to solve the puzzle, which is actually more devious than it is cool. Anyway, I guess this area was okay. By the way, when I went to Canada to see Shin Ultraman, I went to a museum, and I swear to God, the museum had straight up the same vibe as this fucking puzzle area. In fact, I feel like the museum even had puzzles because I was like so paranoid about facing them from the witness. Sawmill, fun score 7. Behind the Sawmill was an area I thought was connected to it, but surprisingly this area actually wasn't. I guess I'm going to call this area the Shadow Garden because all it is puzzles based on shadows of trees, preventing you from actually solving the puzzles. Now, I felt like most of the puzzles here were pretty fun and good. It's just kind of goofy that I solved this whole area while trying to figure out the Sawmill, not realizing it was its own area. Shadow Garden, fun score 9. Anyway, keep going past the town and you'll find a Buddhist pagoda, which clashes with the otherwise hyper-European aesthetic of the rest of the game. Now, the pagoda has a few easy puzzles, and the gimmick here is that there's a central control device in the middle of the pagoda. And depending on how you control the central control device, it will turn off and on the windows in the pagoda, allowing you to finish the puzzles, which involve light from the windows. Now, then after that, the puzzles here are very fucking tedious because a lot of the puzzles here you have to overlay a tree with a puzzle, and there should only be one way to solve it, and this sounds easy, but it can take freaking hours to get the camera alignment right, so the puzzle is solvable. Pagoda, fun score 5. After this, you'll come to the very exhausting jungle area. The jungle area might be one of my least favorite areas in the game. It's very hard to navigate, very confusing, everything looks alike. Anyway, when you even fucking find the puzzles are these very annoying and very difficult sound measurement puzzles where a fucking bird will fly out of nowhere and whistle a bird song at you, and you have to approximately draw the audio wave of the bird's whistle on the fucking puzzle. This was one of the first almost impossible puzzles in the game, and at the very least, it gave me more frustration than any other category of puzzle. And making things even more frustrating was it took me hours to find the first puzzle in the sequence because it was like hidden behind a fucking bush. So I just wandered through this area for like hours trying to find this very small, complicated little bush that was hiding the first puzzle to do all the other puzzles. Like, you just have to stumble across it, and it fucking sucks. Jungle, fun score 4. Another area on the island is the science lab. So in the science lab, there's two sorts of puzzles living here. The first type are pretty fun, and they involve isolating black and white dots from white dots. Or they involve isolating black dots from white dots, which sounds kind of racist, but the gimmick in the laboratory is that you have to separate all these different dots by their different colors. Now, the puzzles here get a little bit complicated as you go along because they start out being just black and white, but then they go into a wide variety of different colors. And finally, when you're in like the furthest parts of the lab, they give you these color filters which you can use to cheat the perspective colors by solving them with less colors based on which filter turns off which colors. Again, none of this is explained. It's very, very fucking tedious, and it sucks. That being said, the puzzles were at least fun, so laboratory fun score 7. Okay, after that, you should have cleared out most of the areas in the game, so it's time to backtrack to the town. Now, the town is really annoying. It's got all the different puzzle types in the entire game, crossing over, one on top of the other, and on top of that, they're all harder now, so the town is just a huge pain in the ass. Making the town even worse is there's this tower you have to climb in the center of the town. But to progress through the tower, you have to solve all the other puzzles around the town that are linked to the tower's doors. So, it sucks. The town. Fun score 1. And then after that, you go to the mountain. Now, the mountain is the formal final level of the game. And once again, there's nothing up here. I wish there would be like some goats or something, but this game is lonely. Now, the puzzles here are the same shit that you saw in the town, but they're even harder and they're even worse. It's a bunch of shit you've already seen from all over the game with just some strange additional twists to make them even harder. There was this other super hard perspective puzzle just to open the door to the stage that took me like an hour, and then once I got inside, same old bullshit. You don't learn anything new, nothing is useful. The inside of the mountain seems a little bit more futuristic than the rest of the island, and you look around and there seems to be like some concept art in here. There's modern contemporary furniture design. Like, they're giving hints inside the mountain that maybe you're inside a video game, or if not, because this is a video game, then maybe the entire island is like some kind of theme park created by like Disneyland Imagineers, something stupid like that. Mountain fun score 1. And then after that, you beat the game. So the ending of the game is you walk into Willy Wonka's goddamn glass elevator, and it flies you all over the island, and the ending is so fucking lazy. Because this is literally the ending to Mario 64. It's just got worse music. I guess it is kind of nice to see all the places you went to and consider your memories of it. But yeah, it was nice when that happened in Mario 64 too. Nothing original here. Anyway, at the end of the ending, the camera puts itself back into the bomb shelter where you started the game, and I guess the game just fucking restarts after that? What a fucking jip. Ending, score 1. You don't even learn anything. Alright, so the game's not over yet though. Beyond the mountain is the Under the Mountain, another super hard area with even more additional puzzles, which I cleared even though there was no point in clearing them. But clearing them takes you to the final true area of the game, which I guess I'm going to call the Musical Chair Cave. The musical chair cave is literally the game's final challenge slash end boss. It's very interesting that the end boss of this game is optional, but I would say that's the way it is. So what happens in the musical chair cave, you find a record player, and this record player plays for about 4 minutes. Now you need to get out of the cave and clear all the puzzles in this fucking cave in 4 minutes. To make things even more hectic, all the puzzles are randomly generated in this cave. Now, the random generated puzzles are sometimes very easy, but sometimes they're literally impossible slash unsolvable. And if you get an unsolvable puzzle, the only thing you can do is fail it on purpose to regenerate it into an easier puzzle. But this caused me so much stress, so much anxiety, because I would sit there being like, can I solve this puzzle? Is it too easy? Is it too hard? Is it driving me nuts? The final challenge in this game ends up being entirely luck-based, which is so frustrating when up to now this game was basically based on skill. So that's just too much, man. Post-game, fun score 4. So you would think that would be everything, but there's one more area of the game I actually have to discuss. So adjacent to the town there is also this windmill. The windmill is the game's gallery. The gallery is kind of a level, but also not really, because it's just you unlock stuff to see stuff. And the gallery just gives you more questions than it gives you answers. So all the video clips that you unlock in the gallery are like these cryptic Werner Herzog style European films about like 1970s medieval candlestick makers and couples arguing on road trips and like the life cycle of a howler monkey. The gallery is the final fuck you from this useless game about wasting time, because the rewards in the gallery are absolutely meaningless. Like, the gallery just fucking broke me. Like, the gallery made me realize that this whole video game was like some subversion of what a video game is, trying to like pass off the format for high art. And that was The Witness. Alright, so if you remember, I've been taking fun scores of every part of this game. If I combine all those fun scores together, I'm going to get a final fun score of 84 out of 170. Putting that into more average numbers means that The Witness was fun 49% of the time, which I guess logistically sounds right, but that also means 51% of the time I was bored, frustrated, or incapable of solving these difficult puzzles in this game without getting help from the internet. So, based on all that, I'm giving The Witness a final score of 4 out of 10. Pros: it's a nice chill island where you can relax, take a vacation, no one's trying to kill you, no NPCs are out here nagging you, you can just be alone and explore the island at your own pace. Cons: nothing is fucking explained, this game makes no sense, the island is lonely, the story is a mystery. The extras that you find are just trolling attempts to make you go nuts. And there's also a cool shipwreck with nothing to do in it. So, once again, I'm just wondering, why did I bother with this game? It was only fun like half the time. Anyway, I'm your Buster Green, and I'll let you know what video game I play next is, because hopefully it's better than this one. Good night, thank you. Please subscribe.